Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Life Talks. Today I have Tyler Todt on. You can find him on Twitter at TYRomper. And he is a certified personal trainer. He's coached hundreds of clients to live a healthier, more intentional, and better life. So, Tyler, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be on, brother. I love connecting with you too, man. And it's an honor to be on here, my man.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I was looking at your website and I'm like, what do I want to talk about? And I saw your book. You got 3 books on there. And one of them is How I Made $1.7 million playing poker. So maybe we could start there and then, go into your journey about like the rise and the fall, the rise again, because I thought your story was really cool, man. So if you could just share that. And how did you make a 1.7 million with poker?
We're at 1.8 right now, but who's counting, man, Yeah, man, it's a really crazy story, man. I just grew up. I always loved games, right? And I always knew that I had this strategic mind, and I liked playing chess when I was young. I liked playing all kinds of strategy games, and I was really into sports when I was young. Then I went to college, and I played 5 sports growing up. I had varsity basketball from the time I was a sophomore, all conference a couple years. Well, then I went to a bigger college and couldn't play, so I was playing rec leagues, but it's not the same, right? And I needed something that was competitive, and so. My buddy introduced me to poker. We watched this movie Rounders. I don't know if you've ever watched that with Matt Damon.
Nah.
It's an old school one, but it's pretty good to check out, man. It's a good movie. And we just said, hey, this looks like a fun game. It looks like a skill game. Let's try playing. So, dude, I just played with a couple buddies, ended up winning their money and deposited like $60 into an online site my sophomore year of college. And brother, by about 5 months later, I had made about $1,000. And then I took that $1,000. I bought a couple books. I bought $500 in coaching, which was 2 hours from a really good player at that time. Got to pick his brain, got to learn a lot. And then about 6 months later, I had made close to $100,000 and I dropped out of college. My parents weren't super happy when I came home and told them, I'm going to Vegas, baby. I'm gonna this is going to be my career from here on out. But I played professionally for 10 years. That was my only job, traveled the whole world doing it, had a lot of fun doing it. Then at 30, met my now awesome wife, and we had our first daughter, moved to where there's no casinos and stuff like that. So I ended up going back to college and doing the corporate thing for a few years, and now kind of set myself free again, growing a social media following, coaching men, still playing poker on the side, doing a lot of different things. So kind of retired from that corporate life at 37 and now just kind of get to live life on my own terms, which is pretty great.
Yeah, something I know is people like, I have to ask this because you're someone who's high energy, all positive. And to me, like what I've noticed is some of the most realest people are the ones who've had those downs and how they've overcome those obstacles. How did you overcome some of those obstacles? What are some obstacles that you had in your life and how did you overcome that? Because I was just checking out your YouTube videos as well. And you talk about like overcoming the negative mindset. And to me, someone who has been in the rut, been in those depressing states, how do you overcome that? How do you keep that positive spark that you got?
Yeah, man, I think number one, it's like, people will say, well, you're in the clouds, you're not realistic. And I challenge people back that we can create our own reality, right? Like, hey, if I'm stuck in traffic, I can pause right there and it can be my choice. I can either say, this freaking sucks. I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be home late. All the things that are wrong. Or I can say, bro, I got a car. How cool is that? That puts me in the top 10% of the world right there. Like, dude, I can put on a podcast. I can put on, an audio book. I can listen to awesome music. I can do any one of these number of things that's going to still let me have a good day. Right. And so you talk about overcoming challenges, in the midst of that big poker run where I was making, several $100,000 a year in a row for a few years there. I got punched in the gut one day. I was out here in Vegas playing the World Series and I married a gal that I met in Vegas and we were married a couple of years. And then I just got a call. Hey, I'm leaving you and I'm cheating on you, and bro, we were currently building a custom, 6,500 square foot house. We both drove luxury, Mercedes and Lexus. We had everything that everybody would say you kind of want in life at 26, 27, a lot of money in the bank and stuff like this. And so it was a punch in the gut. And if I'm honest, it really took me down for a couple of years to the point where I was drinking 6 days a week. I got very unhealthy physically and mentally and spiritually for that being, some drugs, some substance stuff. Just went down a really dark path until one day, man, it all started, 2 people, really big influences in my life, a guy named Colby, who was a personal trainer in Chicago that just a buddy of a buddy. And he just met me and we started chatting one day and he just said, hey bro, Ty, why don't you come to the gym with me tomorrow? Like I lift at 5 a.m. Why don't you meet me there? I was like, all right, man, so I just started going to the gym every day with this guy. And this guy was the most like he would literally run into the gym at 5 o'clock, freaking high five the janitors, the staff, thank them for being there. Thanks for making the gym a clean plate. Like he was just this guy that literally gave everyone life and energy. And I remember just thinking, I want to be this guy. Like I literally want to be him. And so I just started really getting intentional with that and realizing, well, if he can do it, there's nothing holding me back from doing it too, right? And so little by little, piece by piece, I've kind of removed a lot of the toxicity and negative things from my life that is people. Unfortunately, sometimes you got to do that. That's sad music. I don't watch the news anymore or any of that stuff. I just kind of flood my mind with all this positivity, surround myself with a great circle of people that want to build me up. I want to build them up. And just kind of create and choose that positive life.
Yeah, I completely agree. You also put another video out, I received, this is crazy. Like you got some awesome stories, bro. I received a 4-page handwritten hate letter. I mean, dude, it's like, I see the haters on Twitter and social media, and it's like, I get it, especially like, I'm sure we share the same, we follow Christ, right? So the idea that, it's a projection out inside of other people's hearts. And it's like, when you start to really see that, you don't take it personally, but what was that about? What is that? How do you deal with the trolls? Maybe if you could share a little bit that you put in that video, and how to also separate that from people who are giving that constructive criticism, right? Be like, oh no, they're all haters, but like, people are actually maybe criticizing something to make you better, right?
Right. You got to differentiate. Number one, I think, people that are in the arena and people that are in your circle, for sure, man. I'm happy to have, my number one person, we talked a little bit before is, your girl. Can really pick you up and think my wife is my freaking ride or die queen. Like she can pull me aside anytime she wants. And in a loving way, she knows just how to do it, man. She'll say, Ty, you just haven't been your best self the last couple of days. I've noticed you on your phone a little bit too much, What do you think about? She'll ask me the right questions. Right. And that'll help me kind of self-discover. And I try and do the same for her or any of my buddies that are in my group. Right. Like, hey, brother, you haven't been going to the gym in a week. What's up? You just taking a week off, or what do we got going? Or you're complaining about this. Well, what are we doing about it? And so really being able to differentiate between those people that are in your corner that want you to be better, and then somebody who's just not in the arena. They're just a critic, right? Like it's funny, man. I just got a second hate letter from the same person. So I just laugh.
When those things happen, like there's a part of me that wants to help, but also not help, not be like, you're not going to save the world, right? You end up going down the abyss trying to save people. But like, to me, to be a follower of Christ is like to see everyone as yourself. Like, how do you differentiate like when to help those people or when to just say, no, there's no helping and I just got to block them?
Yeah, there's a couple things, man. And, I'm a Christ follower, number one, man, but I say, religion and faith is very personal. So I'm never going to push my stuff on people, but I'm going to say who I am. And that's the biggest guiding factor in my life. And so when I study Jesus and his life, my favorite all-time passage of watching him is he discovers a man who's been, I think, paralytic for 22 years. He can't move. And this guy's been laying literally in the same spot for 2 decades, and he's miserable and he probably stinks. He's an outcast from society. And Jesus walks up to him and he says something like, do you want to be healed? And the guy like gives him 10 excuses. And he says, you don't understand, man. I can't walk. All these people are against me, this. And he says, no, do you want to be healed? And so I think, as somebody who's trying to emulate Christ and be a Christ follower, I have to ask myself that question with everybody. Do they want to be healed? Like I can lead a horse to water. I can maybe give them a few tips or things that have helped me and share my journey in hopes that it inspires them. But at the end of the day, if they don't want to be healed, if they don't want to put that work in, if they don't want to do the things themselves that it's going to take, because we all know it's easier to lay on the couch. It's easier to snooze. It's easier to eat the bad food. It's easier to do these other things, but that has a cost. Easy has a cost too. And so, if people aren't willing to kind of move their feet and take those steps, I'll love you. I'll pray for you, but it's going to be from a distance. I'm only going to have people around me that actively want to get better and try and take on these new challenges and things too. Because what I've realized in life is, sadly, if you allow enough of those people to stay around you, they'll end up dragging you down a little bit.
Yeah, well said. I completely agree with you. Shifting gears a little bit, going into your second book that you have on your site, Maximizing Fatherhood. as I told you before the call, I'm in FOE. I've had some of the guests that I've had on, like Zach Small, Anthony Miglerino. These men are also, they're in the arena of, making fathers better. What would you share? What advice would you share? And maybe you could speak a little bit of what father is to you, what that means to you, and tips for other men, because we live in this culture where just like, do as I say, right? Like, and maybe if you could just talk a little bit about your journey in fatherhood and
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to both Zach and Anthony. I learn from those guys every day. Zach Small had a quote about 2.5 years ago when I first joined Twitter that literally changed my life, man. He said, a father needs to be present over just giving presents. And up until that time, I had started to kind of view fatherhood as, well, I need to provide. That's what society programs us to say. If you're a man, you just make money, and that's your note. You give them the house, you give them the cars, you give your wife nice stuff, and then you're hands off, right? Then you go to the bar with your buddies, you watch the game, you zone out and have beers. Like, that's enough, And it really hit me a few years back that that's not enough. Like, my wife deserves my full attention. When she married me on that altar, she pictured romance for the rest of our life, right? And I'm really big into modeling this for my kids, that I think the number one tip for dads out there is you continue to date your wife. You continue to pursue her. You continue, dude, my second, third biggest expense every month is babysitters. A minimum of 2 times a week, we have a sitter come over. So me and my wife can go ride bikes together, take walks, go to dinner, do picnics, do sunsets. Like, this is what we do, is we show our kids, our daughter's about to be 7, that mom and dad are still in love, bro. We're making out in the living room. We're embarrassing her, Mommy and daddy are in love, and we prioritize each other and our unit above everything.
Right on, bro. Now you're modeling that's what they're going to see when they get older. So right on, brother.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one thing to tell them, oh, this or that, but it's another thing to do it. And so I also look at myself. I think the best thing any dad can do out there is never use your kids as an alarm clock. Like, dude, I did this for years. My kids would wake me up. And then, dude, my kids wake me up, but now my phone, I got all the work emails. Now I got the clients. Now I got a boss. Now my kids need this. My wife needs this. I got to get dressed. I got to shower. Dude, I'm already up to here in anxiety. So number one tip I would always give men is, dude, you're going to set the tone in your home. Yeah. So you get up before your family. I am up an hour every single day before. I don't care if my family's getting up at 5. I will get up at 4, like even on vacation when we go, I am up before my family. And every day it's the same. I journal a little bit of gratitude. I chug some waters. I stretch. I pray. And I kind of visualize myself. I visualize myself on your podcast today, brother, this morning, just being high energy, right? Like being that guy, being that dad that I want to be, that husband I want to be. For my clients, the guy I need to be, right? If I'm playing poker, I'm going to visualize myself playing great, whatever that is. And then I go train. It's either a long walk on active recovery days, or I go lift. And then by the time my family has woke up, now dad has bettered himself physically, mentally, spiritually, and I'm ready to pour into them, right? I think too often dads, they try and pour from an empty cup. Bosses take from us, clients take from us. Let's be honest, I love my kids more than anything, but they take a lot more than they give at this point in life, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're not careful, your cup will always be full, always be empty, and you need to make sure that that's full.
Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. I've actually just been so funny. A lot of stuff that you say, I really believe in synchronicity and the things that it's like 2 things. I mean, the cup being full, I've literally just been saying that the past couple weeks. It's just like, how do you give to other people, right? But not be like where you're like a people pleaser. And it's like, no, you fill up your own cup. That's not selfish, right? It's not just like when your cup is full, you're overflowing to other people. You're not thinking like, oh, I need to be nice to this person, nice to that, but you're literally just overflowing. So right on with that. The other thing here that I had, which is another thing.
Perfectly said. I like the way you said that, that's a good image for me to think, because I don't really think about, I need to be nice to this person. Yeah. If myself is filled up, that just happens naturally, right? Like I'm going to the store and I'm like, I love your earrings. Oh, what's up? Like, like,
yeah.
Like a weird thing, like, oh, I need to do this. It's just my cup is filled and I want to give to others then,
Yeah. Spot on. Well, the other thing too, that I've been thinking about is, and you had a video on this, honeymoon phase never has to end, right? When people say, oh, I'm settling down, like that is like, I was just talking about this like the past week. I was just like, this idea of settling down, it's almost like a game. Okay, I won. So now it's it. And that's why I think the divorce rate is what it is, because it's this mentality that's been programmed for so long. how do you not make the honeymoon? And I know you spoke a little bit on it. Maybe you could just speak a little bit more, because I think that, like, to me, it's something that's so, I mean, it's responsible for so many of the problems that we have is these broken homes, is because, like, there's this disconnection between the mother and the father, and relationship issues. I mean, God, look at Twitter. There's thousands of guides of like how to, like, get this or get that and have the perfect wife. And so maybe if you could just share, like, how do you keep that honeymoon phase going for eternity, right? So I mean, that's like the Christian way, right? That's in our hearts. So
yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, and look, I'll just be very open and honest and vulnerable here. I completely messed this up in my first marriage when I was in my early 20s. I prioritized money, work, fame, status. I wanted to be the number one poker player. I put all those things ahead of my now ex-wife, And when I got married again, I truthfully did the same thing for the first year and a half. I went back to college. I got a 4.0. While I was going back to college, I get a 4.0. So I gave my best to school, right? I gave my best to my daughter when I was home, and I gave my best to my employer. I got promoted 3 times in that year and a half. So I feel good about myself. I'm making money. I'm doing school. My wife got nothing. She literally got the leftovers, man. Yeah. Like anytime we could have had a date night, I went out with my buddies because I earned it, I went golfing with buddies. I went to the bars with buddies. And even on the off chance that I was home and had a chance to connect with her, bro, it was watching sports, just turning my game on. I earned it. I worked hard, and I think too many guys have that mentality of, I earned it. I earned the money. And that gives me a pass to come home and be lazy. And it all comes back to exactly what you alluded to, I think, Michael, is comfort. Okay, I got the girl, I got the house, I got the job, and now I get the dad bod, and I get lazy, and I quit pushing myself. And that's exactly what I did the first couple of years of my marriage, about a year and a half, until one day, man, and this can even go full circle back to your original question of, the hardships. There was a Saturday, man, I remember it was a Sunday, and I had worked 6 days that week. I had to cover a Saturday for an employee. I was running a bank at the time. And, it was a nice day out, and my wife invited me and my daughter to come out, take a walk, play outside. And brother, I was just pissed. I was determined to have a bad day, just negative as all could be. I told my wife, you don't understand. I've had the worst week. Leave me alone. I'm laying here and I'm watching football for 10 hours. That's all. I'm eating pizza and I'm watching football, having beers, And my wife snapped a picture of me that night, and I saw my gut. And then she said a little comment to me before she went to bed, just something like, Ty, I'm sorry that you feel like your life kind of turned out this way. And if there's anything I can do to help, just know that I love you. But, you just don't seem happy. You never seem happy. And she walked out of the room and went to bed, and it was like 8:30 at night. And brother, between me, you, and God, and all the people that'll watch this, I broke down into tears, and I mean, sobbing tears. And I got on my knees that night. And that's where my first book came from, the 9 to 5 Fitness, and where I talk about this in my last one too, the fatherhood book. But, I knew I wasn't being who I should be at that point. I hadn't worked out in 18 months. Every day I was going out for pizza buffets at lunch and freaking McDonald's and all this junk, putting it in my body. I was watching news, Netflix, Game of Thrones, just sports, going to bars with buddies, not prioritizing any of the things in life that, hey, when I get to my deathbed, am I going to be pumped that I watched Game of Thrones twice all the way through? Probably not,
Yeah.
So, that night I sobbed for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I literally on my knees, I promised myself and God, I'm going to change my life tonight. It's going to look totally different from me moving forward. And this is about 4.5 years ago now. And I got a notebook out and I wrote down rules to myself. And I said, I will either die or I will not break these rules. And these rules were, I'm getting up before my family and working out. I'm going to start eating healthy and meal prepping. I'm going to go for a walk at lunch. And I no longer will drink unless it's having a couple cocktails with my wife and having fun. No more going out with buddies, saying I'm going to have 1 or 2 and then having 14, coming home at 3 a.m. Just all that ended right there. And then that led me to this self-improvement journey. Once I started getting into the gym and starting to look better, feel better, then that led me to giving up news, completely giving up even casual viewing of pornography, which I hate that I let, go on for so long.
That was my thing for a long time, in 15 years. And I think the thing is too, is that's where I don't want to be that guy to blame society, because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for my actions. But the truth is, that's what was seen as normal. When I would talk to my friends, be like, that was seen as normal, right? So it's then it wasn't until I saw it as and I'm sure, similar thing, we're just I want that with a woman that I love, that you're connected with, right? So
that's it's such a poison for our soul, man. I think, there's a reason that Adam and Eve, the first thing they did when they sinned is they hid. you know,
Correct. Shame and
they
guilt.
were a shame, right? And that was what I would do when I would consume pornography. I would hide. I would literally hide from God. I would make sure Christian music wasn't on my radio.
Yeah.
I would hide for days at a time. Even if I went to church, I was just ashamed, you know, I felt like I couldn't talk to God. I didn't have that bridge, you know, and then giving that up was probably the best decision of my life, man. One of the top few for sure.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate how the fact that you can talk about these, like, those shitty spots in your life, so just so real, because like that's what I've noticed too now. Like I do the same thing, like when I'm speaking, and it's not like there's two types of people. I think it's one is that it's like it's this victimization, right? People want to milk their problems, and this isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking the idea of like you could just share your shit, like it's just like that's part of my story. And what I've noticed is that when you do that, and a lot of the podcasts I've done, when I see that from people, just like that's just so real, authentic. And 9 times out of 10, when you're speaking to people who are suffering silently, that gives them an opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? They've been through that, and then you become a light onto those people. So I mean, I think that's awesome that you like. To me, that's a sign of like really internal growth, and I really appreciate that.
Hey, I appreciate you opening up and sharing. You know, it's not easy for a guy to say, yeah, I struggled with pornography, but I guarantee you, I tweeted this over a year and a half ago that I'd given up pornography. I was 1 year free at the time. I had 800 DMs that day. And some of them were pastors. One guy I'll never forget he said, I've been a pastor for 22 years and I'm DMing you from an anonymous account but I'm so ashamed. Yeah. I can't get over this, and like, just hearing those stories, okay, why are we struggling in silence? I mean, men are 5 times, 6 times more likely to kill themselves than women. Why do we struggle in silence? Yeah. And so, your podcast and these different platforms, Twitter, the communities that we have and that we grow through, it's so important, man, because no guy is an island. And, all my relationships back when my life was kind of not going well, it was very surface level. Let's talk about Tom Brady. Let's talk about LeBron. Bro. Are we drinking? Where are we going this weekend? Stuff. And you know what? I just have no interest in stuff like that anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I want to know how your soul's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said the exact same thing, Tyler. Like the exact same thing. I can talk about surface level stuff if I know you have depth. Then we could talk about the weather. We could talk about sports. We could talk about that. Like that's part of life. We're not always gonna be like, hey, tell me about your deep life issues, right? But if you can't have that, 100%. Because then when shit does hit the fan or something happens, then it's like those aren't gonna be the people in your life. Not because they just don't know how to be there in that way. So they'll break down, and you'll, like you said earlier, you'll break down when you're around those people. They'll pull you down unconsciously.
Yep, that's right, man. 100% agree.
So we're running out we're running out of time here. So if I just wanted to end on, what is prayer to you? Because one of my goals with Life Talks is to get people back to God. And even that word, it's like when I say that, like I hear my younger self, we're just like, oh God, here we go. God, that word God or prayer. What is that like? Because to me, it's like, we need to replace we need to not replace, but like we want to get people. I want to get people hungry for, that peace within, right? Because then when we're operating that, we're in flow state where we can help other people, we're fulfilled. So what is prayer to you? And, how do you go about that? Is it meditation? Is it sitting in silence? It means different things for different people. What is prayer to you?
And to me, it's all encompassing, man. I mean, I believe personally that Jesus and the Spirit live in me, right? And so there's a tiny bit of God living in me, brother. And to me, that's so exciting. And, when Jesus, his last words, when he ascended to heaven, he said, I give you my power. You'll do works like I did. I give you you'll be able to tell that mountain, go into the sea, it'll go, And so some of my prayers, to be honest, when I feel that anxiety rising up, when I feel the enemy attacking my thoughts, some of that power, some of those prayers are get out. You're not welcome. Jesus lives in me. The Spirit is in me. You are not welcome. Get out of here. I mean, my wife has a joke that we're going to get DCFS calling us, because sometimes when I feel attacked, bro, I go in the garage and I put praise music on louder than you can ever. And I shout at the top of my lungs. That's my prayer sometimes, sometimes my prayers are just thanks. Like literally a lot of my prayers nowadays are waking up in the morning and just thank you, God, for a new day, that I get to have an awesome conversation with you, Michael. And we get to talk about Jesus and the work that he's done, thank you for my home, for my children, for their health. Just thank you, a lot of gratitude. And then of course, I want to bring my concerns and prayers to God, but I think we have a direct access to him. You know, we don't need to go through a priest. We don't need to go through it. We have that gift through Jesus that we can literally communicate with our Heavenly Father anytime we want. And that's such a gift, man. Anytime you want, anytime you're feeling down, anytime you're feeling depressed, anytime you're feeling attacked, you can literally pause, get on your knees and take it to God. And like, what an amazing gift is that, you know?
Yeah. Kingdom of heaven is within, brother. So where can people find you, man? I mean, this message, positivity, needs to get out there. So
definitely, man. I'm on Twitter every single day. I probably tweet too much, probably like 8 to 10 tweets a day, which I'm all off the cuff, man. I think I'm one of the bigger accounts on Twitter. I'm coming up on 65,000 teammates, and I don't plan tweets, man. I just fire them out there as they come on my brain. And I like that kind of style. And I really have a good engagement with a lot of my people there. And I love Twitter. So it's at Tyromper. Same one is Tyler Todt on YouTube. I'm really growing a channel there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Hosting podcasts and weekly podcasts there, putting out different content there every single week too. And so really trying to grow that. And Instagram, I post a little bit here and there too. But those are the main spots, man.
All right. And I'll also post your website so people can get access to your books as well. So
thanks for
coming on, Tyler.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, Michael. You have the greatest night, my man.
You as well.